Hello, welcome to Studio Pixel. In this tutorial, we're going to learn about the lights in 3ds Max. Now, if you go to the create menu and in the lights, you will found there are two kinds of lights are out there actually in 3ds Max. One is a photometric light and another one is the standard light. If you have the third-party plugins like V-Ray, you will also have that V-Ray lights. So, but by default in 3ds Max you will find two types of lights. One is standard, another one is photometric. So we'll start with the standard lights. Now under the standard lights you'll also see there's lights, three kinds of lights are out there. One is spotlights, direct light, omni, and there's another special lights called skylight. If you see this there's another two lights are out there. It is MR area omni and MR area spot. Now these are actually mental ray lights. So these are actually coming with the mental rays render engine. Now as mental ray has been already come with the 3ds Max itself, that's why this light has been incorporated in the default version of the Max. Otherwise for the V-Ray lights you have to install the V-Ray and V-Ray plugins within your system. Otherwise you'll find under the standard lights you'll only find the spotlights, direct light and omni. There are two kinds of spotlights out there. One is a target spot and the free spot. How we can change into these two I will talk in the later chapter. So let's start with the omni. Now what is the omni light? If we click, we'll see it's a kind of a point light. It's a kind of a point, and it's actually can give light into multiple direction. If I say this is the source of my light, and omni light can direct give light to any direction you want in three-dimensional also. So if we see omni light as an example, we can draw a bulb kind of thing, which is light bulb like this, and it actually gives light to almost each and every directions. So for the light bulb kind of thing, we can use this omni light system. Now first of all, let's see how the omni light works. Now that is the most important one. Just create a plane, and if I hit render, which is the important one, if I hit render, you'll see the light is actually visible. I mean the object is actually visible through lights. This is not the default light. Whenever you create any light in your scene, Max is always switch off the default light. So this scene has been lightened by this omni. So now how omni actually works? Now if I pull this omni light down near the surface, you can see immediately in your viewport that there has been change. I have to render the scene, and you can see the lights has been concentrating in few portion of the surface. Now what is actually happening out there? Now the thing is, this omni light is actually calculates the angle from the light source. Now you can see this area is actually almost a 0 degree with this omni light, and right now you can see if I go to the paint option and just hit new, and if you see this as a perspective, and I have an omni light over here, and this area of the plane is actually if you hit direct line, this is around 90 degree, and this portion is not exactly a 90 degree, or you can say as a 0 degree. It's not exactly as 0 degree. It's somewhere around 45 degree or maybe less or greater. And even even if you increase the amount, the direction, you will found this is more than around 60 degree maybe, or 70 degree, or something. So the moment it actually decreasing or increasing, if I hit take it as a 90 degree and it's decreasing to some around 30 degree, then it's actually losing the lights. How? Now you can see, if I hit render, now you can see this area has actually been it's not lightened by this Omni Light, because it's way I mean lower in direction angle, so that's why it's not getting that much of light. But whenever I am pulling this up, you see, now from this amount of position, this area remain 90 degree, but definitely this area is much more lesser than 45 degree. So that's how this area is eliminated more than this position. So that's how the Omni Light is actually working. Same thing will happen if I have another plane over over this area in this direction. Let's see how it's actually going to work. So I'm just create another plane like this. So if I hit render, it's not showing anything, because you have to go to the render settings option, and you have to use the force two-sided option and hit render. You can see this this pink plane is actually in really well seen. But again, if I pull this thing near to this plane, and if I hit render, you can see this surface is not getting any kind of effect of this movement. But again, the pink plane is behaving the same way the base plane was a few minutes back. So there is the same rule. If it have the Omni Light is actually really closer to this area of this plane, and the amount of angle it's getting is 90 degree, and this amount is getting too much lesser than the 90 degree. That's why this area is getting darker. So that's the most important thing. And knowing this fact, you have to understand how the Omni Light is working. So, and you have to plan your scene, and you have to plan your lighting through these limitations also. So if I pull this thing in a middle kind of situation and hit render, you can see there is no problem with the lights at all from the surface. So if you get very closer to the surface, you will get this kind of effects, or even you can say this is not an effect, this is the way the Omni Light actually behaves in 3ds Max. Okay, so let's get in the parameters of this Omni Light. If we go to the modify panel, I'll just start with this general parameters, which is common for not only for Omni but others like spotlights or direct lights. So first option is light type. Now under the light type, you will have an options called on and off. You can switch off this Omni Light. You can see immediate effect in here in the viewport. Now still you can see this this plane is actually dark, where the reason is that you have to configure under the configure, hitting this plus point, and in the configure you can see this force two-sided, should force on the force two-sided, and even after that you will find that there is no there is no effect is getting on. So I think that you have to use the default lights, tail lights, or something like that. So again, you scene light, okay, it's not working. Might be it's happening because of my graphics. No problem. Just so if we switch off this light, it's actually putting off the Omni Light into disable mode, but it's not exactly disable, because if you hit render you will see nothing, because in general if we delete this light, immediately the Max will recognize that there is no lights in the scene, and it will just immediately it will start, you know, the calculating the default light system. But whenever you have a single light, even a single light, uh, just hit back, and even if you have a single light in your scene, whether it's a switch on or off, doesn't matter, it will not going to calculate the default light. So it's, you have to understand the use of this on off very well. It's not same thing like you are deleting your lights in your from your scene. So after that I'll move on to the type list, light type list. You can see there's a three kind of lights out there. One is spot, directional, and omni. You can change into any kind of lights whenever you want, and you can immediately effects, you can see the effects of the list from the parameters menu. You can, if you spot, you'll see the spotlight parameters comes, and if you see the omni, it will say omni parameters will come up. If you see the direction, you'll see the direction parameters will come up. So that's how the things that works in here. Are just uh, behind this list, you will find one option which is targeted. And now what is the meaning of targeted is you won't find any kind of target in Omni Light, because that's it's a unidirectional, or it will lighting up your scene in all direction. That's why you won't find this targeted active. If you go to spotlight, you will immediately see it's a targeted or non-targeted spotlights, or even in the case of directional light, you will also see the target option is in active. But whenever you switch on to the Omni Light, the Omni Light has no target option being activated. So under this target light, my light type has been end, and I will move on to the shadows. Now this is a very common thing that a lights is there, so shadow should be there. So but in CG lighting I have my customization option for my shadows, whether I want the shadow or not. Whether in real life you can see that you cannot switch off the shadow from any lights, it's obvious, but in CG lighting we can actually. So just switch on the lights, sorry, shadows, and create teapot, a small teapot. This is, you know, and if you hit render, you will immediately see the shadow has been calculated. Now if we select the light and go to the modify and switch off the shadow, you can see there is no shadow has been brought, calculated. So shadow should be there. There's shadow type list under the shadow option. You'll see there's a bunch of list, and you see different kind of shadows are out there. We'll cover these in details in later chapters for the shadows itself, so I'm not giving into the very deep level. But yes, this option is very important, whether you use global settings. Now what is use global settings on? If I hit on the use global settings, what is happening? Is there happening anything special? I don't see, because it's not happening special. Now for use global settings, this is a very important setup. Now you can, if you duplicate this, let's say we duplicate this, and for both the lights, I will just switch on the use global settings. Now what is actually happening? Now use global settings is always work as the identical lights. Like if I use shadow map, or I just change to shadow map to the uh, um, area shadow, let's say, and if I select another one which was connected as use global settings, you will see that also has been uh, you know treated as a area shadow, that's been changed into area shadow. It's not like a key as you have copied this light from this original light. That's why it's happening like that. It's not like that. If I create any other kind of light, like the spotlight maybe, and if you switch on the uh, you know use global settings on, and if you change any three of these, any three of these one, it change to the maybe advanced ray trace, and you can see the all the lights has been converted to advanced ray trace shadows. Now that's where the use global settings comes to play. Whenever you actually um, change the shadow type into different one of a bunch of light or group of light, you can group them like switching on these use global settings on. So this is very handy for your scene. Sometimes you have really um, lots of lights are out there in your scene, and that's how you can control these things. And after that, just switch to my last option of this general parameters. Is called exclude. Now what is an exclude? Again, I need another light. Now what is happening over there is, if I switch on the shadows, and if I move this into a different direction, and if I hit render, what you will see, there is two shadows has been casting. Just move a few changes. Just made few changes in the lights position, and okay, fine. Now if you hit render, you can see the two shadows. Now why this is happening? Because both the shadows has been on. Now how can we control this? Let's select this light. I really don't want this light to be create shadow on this teapot. Now how can you do that? Go to the exclude and select the teapot, and go to the just put it on the right side of the channel and say okay. Now if you hit render, you can see the shadow has been gone. Once shadow has been gone, but it also happened that it's not at all affecting the teapot. Now why this has happened? Because if you see the exclude menu very carefully, under the exclude button you have three options. One is illumination, one is shadow casting, and another one is both, and my both option has been on. Now I don't want the shadow only, but I really want to be illuminated by this light. If that exactly what I wanted, you can easily select to the shadow casting and hit okay. So now if you render, you can see the light is actually affecting, but shadow is not. So in the same way, if you go to the exclude button and select, and I'm just only want to exclude the illumination, I want that shadow to be there, so I'll just select the illumination and hit OK. And again, if I hit render, you can see light is not actually affecting the teapot, but the shadow is there. Both the shadows are there. So that's where the exclude comes to play. It's a very tricky one. It absolutely depend on your need, absolutely depend on your scene where you want to put it, use this thing and not. So play cleverly these options. These are very very important and also useful too, but you have to choose when you are going to use these options. So I'll just conclude this chapter. This is the first chapter, and it's just covering the general parameters, and I will move on to the next options like intensity, color, attenuation, and other in the next chapters. So thank you very much.